So I've wanted to do this live stream for a couple of days now, and I just never got around to it. But I just got out of class half an hour ago, and this is just what I'm gonna do. Just to be totally transparent before I embark on this horrible journey, I'm only going to be covering the main story. I would love to sprinkle the events in there, but I am embarrassingly not cut up, and I'm only going to be going up to book 5 out of respect for people who haven't gotten to book 6 yet, which I think you should really do because it's really great. I'm very excited for the second half to come out later this month. But yeah, inevitably, I'm going to get things wrong, and that's okay. Just pretend that I'm right. It's been a very long time since I've done this, and honestly, I'm mostly doing this because I'm planning on rereading the entirety of the story soon, and I think it would be funny for me to just word vomit everything I can actually remember, and also just be deeply concerned with myself, but also to look back at this after I've reread everything and go, oh my gosh, I'm actually not well versed in this narrative at all, and I'm a fake fan. So I'm probably not going to be looking at the chat. I'm going to just be talking. And if you've never played Twisted Wonderland, take this with a grain of salt, but also maybe this will get you hooked into the cult. So here we go. The prologue. You wake up in a coffin, and you leave the coffin. You, the player, the default name is you, Y-U-U. Get it? It's a pun because you is a name in Japanese, and also you, the player. I'm probably going to interchangeably say you, MC, you, whatever, doesn't matter. So you wake up in a coffin, and you leave the coffin, and you're in a weird room with a bunch of other coffins. You freak out because there's no coffin room at your school. What the heck? And then you see a strange little cat creature running around, and it's like, oh, hello, strange cat creature. I'm leaving now. So you wander a bit, and you end up in this library, and then this weird bird person's like, ayo, the frick you doing? The ceremony's in the ceremony room. You little weirdo. Go to the ceremony room. And we're like, what are you talking about? What is this place? And then the little cat comes in, and he starts like spewing fire everywhere. And the bird's like, oh, poo, the books. You're gonna break the books. Hey, you, MC, control your cat demon. And we're like, I don't know that thing. And the bird's like, oh, you don't? Well, he's your problem now. Take care of it. We don't take care of it, and we ignore that thing for a bit. Also, at some point, the cat declares, actually, I want to be a student here because I'm going to be the greatest mage in the world. And then we all point and laugh and continue with our day. So we go to the ceremony room, and there's a bunch of people in these black cloaks, and it looks like some sort of cult meeting. And we're like the last person because we're very, very late. I actually don't know what in the world the crow bird person was doing in the library instead of the ceremony where all the new students are being introduced. It was probably explained, doesn't matter. Maybe he just has like a little sensor in the library, like a baby monitor. Like, hey, the only thing that should be moving in this room are books. And that person and that cat, not a book. So we go to the ceremony, and there's that cool mirror from Shrek, and the bird person says, hey, go stand in front of that, the Shrek mirror. Go stare in front of it, but don't ask for it to match you with the princess. Lord Farquaad took all of those. So we go to the mirror, and it's like a sorting hat, but instead of a hat, it's a mirror. And it's like, oh, I'm the mirror man. I'm gonna tell you where you're gonna sleep for the next 4 years. Nyar. And we go, and the mirror's like, hold up, your soul? Nothing there. Nothing there. You're a loser. What are you doing here? And then the bird person's like, ayo, what you talking about? The carriage brought him. The carriage kidnapped him and shoved him in a locker coffin. So obviously, he's supposed to be here. The horses make no mistakes. I'm a closet horse boy. I'm a horse man, actually. I forgot I'm a man. Hey, it makes no mistakes. What are you talking about, mirror from Shrek? And the mirror's like, I don't care, dude. You don't even pay me. You stole me from Farquaad's castle. I've been here for 100 years. I'm so scared. I miss my tiny mirror children. So the bird person's like, okay, well, I guess you're going home. Where are you from? And then you goes, oh, I'm from Japan. And everyone's like, Japan? What's a Japan? Is that a different word for, I don't know, one of the other countries and not Teyvat? The other day I was thinking about Twisted Wonderland and I started calling it Teyvat. That's not part of the lore. I just really needed to get that information off my chest. I truly am an embarrassment. Anyways, so it's like, okay, well, we don't know where Japan is. All these cultural things you're talking about, you're insane, you're a loser. Whatever, we'll figure it out. And then the cat thing breaks in. Like, hey, my turn to get sorted into a dorm. And then the bird person says, no, you stupid cat. We're actually really racist towards animals because you guys still have fur and haven't developed normal skin like beast men. And then Leona just sits in his chair all hotly. And he's like, haha, you're tiny. And then we fall in love, but that's not important yet. So then the cat, in a fit of rage, starts vomiting fire everywhere, and it's blue. It's very important that you know that this fire is blue. And then the dorm leaders, I forgot the different like dorms. They have dorm leaders, haha. They're supposed to be responsible or something, allegedly. So it's like, hey, catch that cat. And then the dorm leaders kind of all just look at each other. And then pretty boy, he goes, I don't really wanna. Hey, Leona, you should go catch him. Teehee. And Leona's like, no, screw you. You do it, you poopy fart. And then the cat sets, I forget what Column's name was in the game, so this Column, a cat sets Column's butt on fire. And he's like, help. My butt's on fire. Where is Jamil during all of this? Probably laughing. He couldn't contain his happiness. Oh my gosh. This man is in pain. So silly. Peak humor. Anyways, so while Column's on fire, Riddle's like, fine. I guess I had to take matters into my own hands. And then Azul's like, and I will help you. So then the game changes from a visual novel to a rhythm game. And you play as Riddle and Azul, and you chase after the cat. And the cat sets the entire hall on fire, and eventually you nab him, and then you get yelled at a lot for being a loser. And then Crowley's like, well, I guess I can't let you be homeless because my pet horse did kind of kidnap you. So I'll let you live here. But also it's not free because I am a raging capitalist. And in order for you to get money, you are now a glorified janitor. Heck yeah, I love child labor. I'm obsessed with child labor, guys. Ah! So, he lets us stay in a rundown, beaten house. But I guess it's better than nothing, right? And he's like, great. Tomorrow, you're going to start cleaning the entirety of Main Street. And we're like, wow, we really did just get yeeted into indentured servitude. I just wanted to go home. What the nuts? So we sleep, and the cat breaks into our house, I think, or followed us. I don't really remember, but the cat's there, and there's like ghosts in the building, and we can see them because of course we can. And at first they're like mean to us, and then like we kind of guide the cat and tell the cat, kill them ghosts, murder them ghosties, and then the ghosts run away in horror. And then we go to sleep in our nasty, gross bed. I do not know how MC was able to actually just go to sleep. I would have disappeared, quite frankly. But then we wake up in the morning, and then we walk a really long way to Main Street. And then we see all of these silly statues that look vaguely familiar, but I guess, like, when we got kidnapped, we also hit our head really hard. So we can't remember exactly where we recognize the characters from. And then you hear a disembodied voice go like, those are the great sevens. They're seven really cool historical figures that have never done anything wrong in their lives, and our school is based on them because they're so epic and cool. So we, MC, we're like, oh, really? Will you tell us about them, disembodied voice? And then the disembodied voice suddenly has a body. And then he, like, comes out of the woodworks, and he's like, yeah, I'll tell you about them. And he tells us all about them in great detail. And he basically explains the Disney movie villains, but ignores all their villainy. And that's funny, so we don't care. And then he also no, I don't think, he doesn't talk about houses yet. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So he tells us about them, and we're like, wow, thank you for the knowledge, random boy with a heart on your face. This is really insightful. You're really kind. And then the guy goes, yeah, also, you're an idiot. Let's fight. So we fight him, and he, like, makes a tornado, and the tornado picks up the fire from our cat. I don't think I ever said the cat's name. His name's Grim. It picks up the fire from Grim, the kitty cat, and he basically makes a fire tornado and sears the statue of the Queen of Hearts. And that's the dorm he's from. It's called Heartslabyul. It's pretty slay. And it's not epic. So then the headmaster's like, oh, you destroyed the statue. You're in trouble now. And then he punishes all of us by saying, you cat thing and heart boy, you're gonna go clean some windows. And I think the headmaster realized, I can control the cat. You get to be a student now. Maybe that's later. I don't know. I think actually that might be later. Ignore that. I don't know. But for some reason, I'm in trouble too. So we go to class, maybe, I don't know. And then after school, we meet Deuce somehow. I forget. We meet Deuce, and we don't kiss. We meet Deuce, and we become friends instantly because unlike Ace, he's not a jerk. And we're holding hands, and it's like, by the way, Deuce, I have to, like, find Ace. We're supposed to be cleaning windows because we're little delinquents now. And Deuce is like, bet, I'll help you find Ace. So we, Ace, and our little kitty cat child Grim go and find Ace. And he's trying to run away to Heartslabyul because he doesn't want to do any work. So then Deuce starts beating him up and beats him over the head with a cauldron. And then Ace is like, holy balls, you could have killed me. And Deuce is like, nuh-uh. And then we go to wash the windows, but we realize, now that we have Ace, now the cat's missing. So then we start a new mini game where we're hunting the cat, and we get the cat, and we chase the cat to the cafeteria. And the cat can fly or something, and he ends up on a chandelier. And Deuce, trying to get the cat, throws a cauldron to the chandelier. And then the cauldron breaks the chandelier, and oh no, that was apparently a really big relic of the school. So then Crowley manifests again. I swear this dude has baby monitors or something in the walls, and he's like, hey, you broke my pretty lamp. That's been here for over 100 years, a full century. So he says that we're all gonna be expelled. And then Deuce starts crying because, sad backstory, I need to make my mommy proud. I wanna make life better, and I can't do that if I get expelled, because then I'll just be a failure like everyone back home thinks I am. And Crowley goes, wow, there are not enough words in our lexicon to explain how much I don't care. However, I will let you redeem yourself if you can get a new magic crystal to fix the chandelier. So he then sends all of us to an abandoned mine where the 7 dwarves used to live. And not enough people talk about this, but like if they're all gone, they're probably all dead. And I don't know, that makes me sad. But we go there and we start looking for a magical stone, but we find the stone. We found a really cool stone. But also, there is a strange ink monster, straight out of Epic Mickey, but somehow a little scarier, and it starts murdering us, and once again, people don't talk about that enough. It's kind of spoilers for later on, but I'll get to there later, hopefully, maybe if I remember, who can be sure. So we fight off the ink monster because we told the silly Heart Boy and Spade Boy what to do, and then we go back home, we tell Crowley what happened, and he goes, wow, MC, you are really good at being bossy and getting men to do what you say. That's so epic and cool. You can become a student, but only half of one, and Grim will do all the magic stuff for you. But you can be a student. You are no longer a janitor. Bye-bye free child labor. And then we do a dancey dance. And then everything's great. So that's the end of the prologue, probably. Heartslabyul chapter. Oh boy. So we get put in the class with Ace and Deuce, and we're already friends, and we form a quartet, and we are still holding hands with Deuce because we are slowly but surely falling madly in love with each other. Ace also is in love with us, but he's a loser, so we don't care. So we're holding hands with Deuce, and we decide to, like, they decide to go back to their dorm, and then, like, they go to their dorm, and then Ace is, like, tired from fighting off a strange ink monster. And he missed dinner because he's a loser. And he opens up the refrigerator, and I guess, despite having an older brother, he never learned the rule that if something isn't yours, don't take it. And he takes a piece of a tart. And then a tiny little Spartan warrior appears behind him, Crowley style. And he's like, did you just take my tart? And Ace is like, the heck are you? And then all of a sudden, he has a very large collar around his neck, and he gets kicked out. And then he comes knocking on our door, not sure how he knows where we live, but go off, sis. And he's like, hey, I just got evicted. Can I live with you for a bit? And we're like, I guess so. And he goes, thanks. And then he lives on our couch. And, in the morning, Deuce comes, and he's like, hey, is Ace here? He wasn't in our room in the morning. And we're like, yeah, Ace is over there, being a nerd. And then Deuce is like, Ace, I can't believe you got in trouble twice in one day. 3 times in one day. First you up here blowing up statues, then you break a chandelier, and then you steal food from our dorm leader. And then Ace goes, hey, wait, didn't you break the chandelier? And Deuce just ignores him because that's silly. I just made up that interaction, but I actually don't remember if that happened or not, but it should have, because I think that would have been really funny. Anyways, so Deuce is like, hey, you should apologize because you stole, and that's bad. So we go to class. I think we go to class first. We go to class, and then afterwards we try to go back to the dorm to apologize to the tiny Spartan warrior. And then some guy with a diamond on his cheek is like, hi, what you doing here with that collar on your neck? And we're like, we need to apologize to the silly. And then Cater's like, actually, paint roses for me. That's so fun. So he makes us do chores, and then we try to apologize again. But then it's like, actually, you can't apologize because a silly rule says that actually you need to bring an apology tart. And I know just the guy to teach you how to make an apology tart. My boyfriend, best friend, Trey Clover. And Trey Clover then descends from the heavens because he's really silly. And he goes, what do you need, my children? And Cater goes, boyfriend, best friend. You need to help these little gerbils make an apology tart. And Trey goes, ah ha ha ha. You must be the poor lost souls that accidentally ate a tart or something. Don't worry, my troublemakers. I will help you. And all it will cost is 100 hazelnuts. So we go to the woods, and we go to the woods, and we collect a bunch of hazelnuts, and then we go back to the kitchen. And Trey is like, you have done well, my children. It is now time for another unskippable rhythm game. So then we peel a bunch of hazelnuts. And then after we peel all the hazelnuts, He goes, actually, we also need an inhumane amount of eggs. Go, my children, collect the eggs. So Deuce and we volunteer to go get the eggs. We're still holding hands, and we go to the egg store, and we buy eggs from the silly man at Mr. S's mystery shop, and he gives us a lot of eggs because inevitably we're going to drop them, and tarts in this world are unnecessarily large. So we're holding hands with Deuce, and then we cross paths with these two taller guys, and we run into them, and then Deuce drops the eggs. And he goes, oh no, my eggs. And then the delinquent guys are like, hey, what are you doing walking into us? Learn how to see with your eyeballs. Are you not able to see because of that silly shape on your eyeball? You know, the ones that are on those cards that you play card games with? Is that why you can't see, you little weirdo? We want an apology. And Deuce is like, you don't deserve diddly squat, my guy. You blocked our way. And then the delinquents are like, what you doing with all those eggs, you loser? Eggs are for nerds. And then Deuce is like, apologize to the eggs. And then he beats the crap out of the delinquents like boom, pow, pew, pew. Because you find out Deuce actually isn't an honor student at all. He used to be a delinquent too. So he got hands to throw. So after he throws hands and severely schools these punks, he's like, now go buy us more eggs. And then the delinquents are like peeing and crying their pants, and they're like, wah, and they go buy more eggs, and then they get the eggs, and then Deuce is like, apologize to the baby chickens you killed. And the delinquents are like, what? And he's like, the eggs, when you drop them, you kill them, and they're going to waste. If we're going to sacrifice these baby chickens by eating them, the least you can do is not drop them on the floor. And then we go, Deuce, that's not how chickens work. And he looks at us, wide eyes, like a deer in headlights. And he goes, nuh-uh. And we go, yeah-huh. And he goes, nuh-uh. And we're like, no, babes. Like, the eggs you get from the store, they're infertile. There is no baby in there. Just yolk and white. And he's like, I spent the last 16 years of my life thinking I was killing chickens when it's just food. So we go back to Trey, and Deuce is really depressed about this revelation. And then Trey makes the tart, and then we're all like, woohoo, this is going to be great. And then Trey's like, great, you can give it to our little tyrant tomorrow at a tea party or something, and it'll be great. So for the night, we go back to the McDormy dorm, right? We go to our dorm, and we sleep, and then the next day happens, and we get up and we go back, and then I think we paint more roses, or we don't. I don't remember. And then we go to Riddle, and we present him with our tart. And Riddle is like, I see you've been reading the book. And then Riddle, he looks at the tart with his little Riddle eyes, and he goes, wait a diddly darn minute, and begins to wiggle his finger in disapproval. This is a hazelnut tart. You can't bring a hazelnut tart to this tea party. And then he proceeds to throw the tart on the floor, and Ace gets mad like, hey, you can't waste food. And then we and Deuce suddenly get very happy that Ace wasn't around when the eggs fell on the floor. And then Riddle says, I don't care. Now all of you get your heads chopped off because you broke the rules and you're bad. So then we all get our heads cut off, and then we're kicked out. Oh yeah, we fight Cater again. No, we just fight Cater, and no matter how much we kill him, he keeps healing himself and we lose. And then you find out that's because it's my unique magic. I can make multiple copies of myself, which means you can't kill me. Ha 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 ha. So then We get kicked out, and Cater and Trey are really apologetic, but they can't go against Riddle because he's just a little too silly. So then we, we're kicked out, and then Ace is really mad. So he's like, "I'm gonna fight for my own hand," and he goes to Crowley about fighting Riddle for the title of Dormhead. And something I completely overlooked during this, just because I didn't want to get into the nitty gritty because I'm lazy, is that throughout there have been little spats of Riddle interacting with students and him just getting mad at them for breaking rules. So just know that a lot of people in Heartslabyul are dirty little lawbreakers, and they are deserving of your hatred. So the next day, Crowley comes to like officiate the fist fight between Riddle and Ace, and then also Riddle v Deuce. And I'm pretty sure Deuce goes first, and he loses because he's a loser. I love you, Deuce, but you lost. And then Ace starts fighting him, and then Ace loses. But instead of just accepting his loss, Ace then starts going for Riddle's toes and breaks him down as a human being, and is like, "You're just a little piss baby, a little pee whiny piss baby." And Riddle's like, "No!" And Ace is like, "Yes, you are." And Riddle's like, "No, I'm right. I won, so I'm right. No." And then Ace like punches Riddle, and Riddle's like, "Oh my gosh, you just hit me. You just hit me." And he's just really shocked. And then Ace's initial act of violence inspired the rest of his dorm mates to all just simultaneously have a psychotic break, and they all start crying and throwing eggs and tomatoes at Riddle. Where did they get the eggs? I'm not sure. Maybe they were leftovers from the tart. But Riddle is like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just got bullied and no one likes me. I'm killing all of you." So then Riddle overblocks, and ink comes out of his eyes and nose and ears and mouth. And then he like gets a dress, because why not? And this is what we call an overblot. Remember that silly little monster that we fought back in the mines that kind of looked like a dwarf? Yeah, that's a remnant of an overblot. Yeehaw! So then we fight Riddle. It's very sad. And then Trey, oh yeah, I forgot. Trey's unique magic was introduced a long time ago, but he can overwrite stuff, and he makes Riddle's little thorns of death turn into little cards. And it's like, uh-oh, my weapons of mass destruction. Give me back my evil tentacle arms, you menace. And then Trey is like, "Riddle, this isn't you. Like, calm down, bestie." And Riddle's like, "No, all of you are rule breakers. You need to be punished." So then we enter a really cool boss battle with really lit music. And it might take you a couple of times depending on what your cards are leveled up to. But then you defeat him. Woohoo! And then he like falls to the ground, and then everything goes black. Everything's black and white. And then you get his backstory, where you find out the reason he's so crazy about rules is because his mom is crazy, and she was really, really overbearing and made him follow a bunch of rules, and he couldn't have fun, and he couldn't go outside, and everything just really sucked. And a lot of people would agree, saying that it's honestly one of the worst backstories in all of Twisted Wonderland. And I feel like the fact that it's a thing that actually happens, very common, makes it all the scarier. Like, oh my goodness, this poor boy. So he wakes up crying, and he's like, "If rules aren't the way to go, why have I been suffering my entire life? Like, if that's wrong, what was all of this for?" And then Ace is like, "Don't think I'm gonna feel bad for you just because you're crying." And then Riddle is like, I'm sorry. I didn't want to throw away your tart. It was just a rule. And if you don't follow rules, you get all of your human rights taken away. What the nuts? So Riddle apologizes, and then Ace is like, "I'm not going to forgive you just because you apologize." And Riddle's like, "Well, what else am I supposed to do?" And then Ace is like, be better. And Riddle is like, okay. And then Ace is like, also, I want you to make me an entire tart because I'm petty. Poetic justice. So Riddle makes Ace a tart, and then they have an unbirthday party, and then everyone eats the tart. And they're like, holy balls, this is disgusting. And then Riddle's like, but I followed the instructions. I even added oyster sauce, like Trey said was the secret ingredient. And Trey was like, oh, you're so silly. I was just joking. And then everyone laughs, and they giggle, and everything's great. And then Riddle goes, is there a mouse in the teapot? Never mind. I think it's okay if we don't follow some rules. Ha 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 ha. And then we're all best friends. And then that's how that ends. Book 2, Savanaclaw chapter. Oh dear goody. So everything's great. It's a nice normal morning here at Night Raven College. And it's lunchtime and everyone's really hungry. And we go to lunch and like it's a day where they have bread and you can buy bread and sandwiches and stuff. And Grim beats up the entire student body and gets his hand on like some super epic supreme deluxe yummy sandwich. And he's really excited to eat it. And then some scruffy little silly guy comes up like, hey guy, want to trade that sandwich for my piece of just normal bread? And Grim goes, absolutely not. Are you crazy? And then the guy goes, great pal, this was a great trade. And then all of a sudden Grim hands over the sandwich and takes the bread. And then the silly guy just runs away. And then Ace and Deuce are like, Grim, if you didn't want to give it to him, why did you give it to him? Like, that's so stupid. And Grim's like, I didn't give it to him. My body just moved on its own. And we're like, huh, that's weird. Then all of a sudden, people start dying or something. And that's really silly. So, people are dying left and right. And we think it's weird, but we don't actually care until Trey dies. That's when things get serious. So Trey falls down a flight of stairs. And Cater, being madly in love with him, is like, oh my gosh, he died. To the infirmary. So we go to the infirmary and we're like, hey Trey, it's not like you to trip and fall and almost die. We say as we've known him for like not even a week. And Trey's like, oh, I don't know, you know, sometimes people just fall over and die. And we're like, no, this is a targeted attack. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. So we start interviewing students about what's been going on. And because plot, we come to the conclusion that it has something to do with the upcoming Spell Drive, Magic Shift, some sports game, right? A lot of the dorms, like best players, are getting injured, and that's weird. So we get to meet a bunch of silly people, and we stalk some of them to make sure that they don't get hurt. Heartslabyul was already hit, so that's over. We go to Savanaclaw and we see Jack Howell, who, like his name, is absolutely jacked. And we're like, hey, we're following you around. And he's like, why are you doing that? And we're like, because you're gonna get hurt. And Jack's like, y'all are some of the rudest people I've ever met. So he tells us to get lost. And he's like, but plus, I don't think I'm gonna get hurt, whatever. So we leave Jack alone for a bit. But Jack, he starts having suspicions too, like, but we're gonna get to that later. So then we go to Octavinelle and we get to find Floyd and Jade, and Floyd and Riddle have history, and Floyd apparently likes bullying Riddle because it's ha-ha silly, and I think we tell them that we think they might be in danger, or maybe we don't, I don't know. But we come to the conclusion that even if someone were to try to come for them, they would be just fine, so we leave them alone. But then we go to Scarabia and we meet Jamil, and he cut his hand open, and he's very nonchalant about it. And we asked him about what the heck happened to his hand, and he was like, oh, well, you see, I was cooking food, and then all of a sudden my knife was in my hand. And that's like crazy. I could have chopped the whole thing off if I didn't have crazy silly reflexes. And we're like, yeah, that is pretty crazy. And then we move on, and then we go to Pomefiore and we meet some guys who are really dramatic, and it's very great. They got drawn in the manga. Everyone is in love with them, as they should be. They're very silly. So then we look into Rook Hunt because he's like Pomefiore's star player, which people don't like. I don't think people ever mention that, literally ever. Like, I know it's not shocking, but like, guys, this information, it's so silly. So we see the Pome trio, and Appel is standing there looking sad. Rook is just talking to Vil about makeup, because another thing, Vil plays it too. No one wants to talk about that. I really want to know their stats and like how good they are at this game. Like, Vil is apparently good enough to where he's like, I'm gonna wear makeup and not like worry about it. He's like, this is so fine. Makeup, everything's lit. No one talks about this enough. What the heck? So Vil's like, I don't know what makeup I'm gonna wear because like I don't want to be too flashy because it is a sports event that I am playing in, but also I want to look extra good because people look hot when they're playing a sport. And Rook's like, no matter what you do, Vil, you're perfect because we're madly in love with each other. And Vil is like, oh my gosh, you are so right, Rook. And they're just staring at each other lovingly. And Appel is praying for lightning to smite him where he stands. And we don't even necessarily think that Rook is going to be fine, but we're just too scared to approach him because he's so weird, so we dip. Then we go... I don't think we go to Ignihide. They don't do anything. No one cares about them. Next. And then we go to Deosomnia, and we're like, yeah, there's no purpose in even looking into them. They're fine. So we scrape all of our things together, and we're like, wait a minute. Wait a diddly darn minute. What is the pattern in all of these silly things? People from every dorm have been getting hurt, except for Savanaclaw. I don't know why I almost said Scarabia, except for Savanaclaw. And then Jack comes out of some bushes and he goes, I came to the same conclusion. Rah, 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 rah. So Jack is like, I don't want to admit it, but I think our dorm might be playing something absolutely nefarious. Absolutely nefarious. So we walk up to Leona Kingscholar. And we're like, hello, handsome person that we saw during the welcoming ceremony. Have you been up to illegal activities? And he goes, you have no proof, and walks away handsomely. So we, stuff happens. Jack isn't our friend, but he's also literally our best friend. And basically, we know that Leona's up to something because Ruggy like went to go see Azul, and that means something. No, not yet, whatever. Okay, so then the day of the game happens. Guys, I'm really good at recounting information. The day of the game happens, and there's people all over because they're coming to see the sports game, and it's really serious and it's a really big deal. And we come, and there's people everywhere, and there's like food stalls and stuff for you to do, and everything's great. And you see an exchange happen between Ruggy and Azul Aschengrotto. Who's Azul Aschengrotto, you might be asking? He's the leader of Octavinelle. Suspicious. And he gives him something. And then Malleus is like walking. Oh my gosh, I forgot one of the most important things in this entire section. Okay, guys, rewind to the very beginning. At some point near the beginning of this chapter, there is a meeting between all the dorm leaders. And Crowley makes the announcement that Malleus, instead of participating in the tournament this year, he's going to be put in the Spell Drive Hall of Fame because whenever he plays, no one else wins. He just demolishes them, and that's not fun. But if they put him in the Hall of Fame, they're acknowledging his epicness, and everyone can like actually try to win. And Leona gets really mad because he's like, oh, so you're saying that we have no chance against him? You're like, you have no faith in us? What kind of teacher are you? And he has a really big hissy fit. And then people start dying. Okay, back to the festival. I'm so sorry. I don't know how. That just left my mind. Anyways, so then Malleus is kind of like just walking, right? He's just like walking down the road because he's very silly. And then all of a sudden, a giant avalanche of people, a giant crowd of people, they come and they trample Malleus. And Leona's like, tee hee ha ha. He almost died, tee hee. And then all of a sudden, Malleus is in front of Leona. And Leona's like, egad, what is this? What's going on? And then it turns out that Leona and Ruggy didn't trample Malleus. They trampled and murdered one of Cater's clones that was dressed up like Malleus Draconia. So Leona is all grr boo hissy. You've caught me. And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. And he gets really mad. And then Riddle puts like a little collar on him so he can't use his magic because he's been a bad boy. And then Lilia comes because he's like Malleus's guardian. And he's like, hey, howdy ho. That was a really bad, stinky, smelly fart thing you did back there. No wonder you weren't born to be king. Because you're a bad boy. And Leona's like, grr boo hiss. I don't care if what you're saying is true. I'm angry. So he destroys Riddle's collar. And Riddle's like, what? You can't destroy my collar. I'm the OP big bad of the last story. You can't just defeat me. And then Jack is like, Leona senpai, you're the reason I wanted to come to this school. Because you're such an epic and cool athlete. I looked up to you. Where did that respectable sportsmanship man go? And Leona goes, he can't come to the phone now. He's dead, Taylor Swift style. And then he overblocked into a really epic and cool outfit. And his forehead is showing. And he has his toes out. And he has claws. And it's really insane. And then we fight him. And it's really sad. And then he loses. And he loses. And then Crowley appears. I swear he has baby monitors everywhere. And he's like, hello, Mr. King Scholar, for trying to kill one of your classmates. And then trying to kill even more. You don't get to play in this sports game. And then Leona's like, what? No. Oh, wait, dang, I forgot. Okay, after we defeat Leona, the world goes black and white, and then we get his sob story, and he's the second prince to the Afterglow Savannah, and his house servants were mean to him and always compared him to his brother because they're stupid, petty, immature adults. And, stupid adults. And that's now everyone's problem, and no one loves Leona, even though his older brother does, and literally has done nothing but support Leona. I know that doesn't, like, make the depression go away, but I can't, I just couldn't sympathize with him, I never will. The adults sucked, but, like, the whole brother thing, my family hates me. It's like, literally, no, they do not. I feel so mean, but whatever. Leona, he's Gerbu hissy. And then he wakes up. No sports game for you. And then Crowley is like, no. And then everyone's like, no, you should let Leona play. Like, even though he tried killing Malleus and, like, used hundreds of people's bodies without their consent to do the crime. And he injured dozens upon dozens of our students. He should still get to play the sports game. He's not even sorry, but he should just get to play the sports game because he's mentally ill. Please, come on, Crowley, please. If he was willing to do all this just because there was a potential of him losing, imagine what he'll do if you don't let him play. Come on. So then Crowley is like, okay, I will start the cycle of super unfair and unreasonable punishments now. Leona, despite your crimes against humanity, you can play in a consolation match. A fake one against Grimm and the Ghosts. Because Grimm and the Ghosts want to play. Also also Ace and Deuce. Because they want to play, but they're not good enough to be on, like, Heartslabyul's team. So, whatever. Also, I forgot to mention that Ace and Deuce were actually kind of excited when Trey got hurt. Because with Trey off the team, it meant that potentially they could play on his spot. They are little monsters. I love them. So, that was really silly. And They play the match. Leona wins. Obviously, Leona, Ruggy, and the Savanaclaw people win. And then we go to the infirmary because Leona did like just overblot. That's not good. And in the infirmary, a strange little lion child comes in. And it's like, oh my gosh, Unka, you did so good. And everyone's like, who's Unka? And then the tiny child crawls onto Leona. And he's like, Unka, you're so cool and athletic. I miss you. Please come home. Rah, 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 rah. And then Leona's like, yeah, whatever. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, who is this? And it's like, it's my nephew. He's the next in line for the throne or something. And they're like, wait, the prince that you hate is this toddler? And Leona's like, shut up, all of you. And then little Critter is like, I love you, Unka. And Leona's like, yep, I love you too. Woohoo. And it's very silly, it's very wholesome, it's very cute. And all of us are like, hey, Leona, have you reflected on what you did at all? And then Leona goes, remorse is not a word in my vocabulary. And then we all laugh, and then we beat him with a stick. And that's the end of book 2. Book 3, Octavinelle chapter. Yeehaw, aka the best one. So it starts with, it's midterms, guys. We just blew through half the year. Isn't that crazy? It's midterms, and it's time for test studying. And our really cool teacher, Professor Cruel, he's like, make sure you study well, my doggies. Otherwise, you're going to have to stay here for winter school. And then, like, Riddle, Deuce, and Ace, they're about to get into a fight, but then they stop themselves. And we're like, oh my gosh, you guys are so well behaved now. I can't believe you stopped yourselves from getting into a fight. And then, like, the tests happen, and we all get our grades, right? And we got a B or something. And then, like, we all did well. We all did really well, and it was really nice, and it was really cool. However, everyone did good, and then, like, Ace and Deuce got A's and stuff or something, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, that's so crazy. We never thought we'd see the day that you guys did. Oh, I forgot, Jack's here too. Jack's our friend now. But yeah, Jack's there. He's like, oh wow, you guys did good. I, like, wasn't expecting you guys to be academically good at anything, really. So then afterwards, they had good grades, and then a couple more days go by, and then there's the list of grades, because at NRC and a lot of schools in places outside of America actually post your ranking for everyone to see. So Ace, Deuce, and Graham, they're like obsessively waiting for their rank to be posted, and they see it, and they're like, no, this can't be. And then these strange little things pop out of their head, and they're being forcefully pulled somewhere. And then MC and Jack were looking at them like, Ayo, what's going on? So we noticed that a lot of students have this strange thing coming out of their head. So we follow them, and we end up going to the Octavinelle dorm, where there's a restaurant in the lobby apparently, and all of these people are being assembled, and there are these silly little mafia bosses at the front of the room, and they're very tall. And it's like, wait, aren't those the two Tweels we investigated during Savanaclaw chapter? And then the narrative tells you, shut up and listen. So Azul starts talking, and then he's like, wait a minute, you people back there, you don't have little things on your head. Get out of here. Shoo. And then Jack is like, no, I will not leave. And then, like, Azul is like, boo hiss. And then he reveals that the reason the people did so well on the quiz is that they got a study guide from him, and the study guide, if you did it well, you would be able to get at least a B, and if you got in like the top 5 or something, you didn't have to give him anything. But if you got lower than that, you would have to work at the Moisture Lounge for the rest of your NRC career. And that's what happened. Ruh-roh. So that's what they have to do. And at first we're like, oh, well, that's your fault. Have fun. And we go back about our lives. Also, Jack, like, reprimands the people for, like, you guys should have just studied. If I'm going to do well in school, I want to do well because I studied. And I'm an academic boy. And that's why Jack is best boy. And then we break up with Deuce, and we start holding Jack's hand. And we say, it's nothing personal. And we hold hands, and we leave the building. But as the days go by, we see that Azul is overworking. He has over 100 employees, which literally is like just such a weird plot thing. Like if you have over 100 employees, you don't need that many. You don't, like, that's literally a good chunk of the student body, period. You don't need that many working consistently. Like, I just think it's really unrealistic that Deuce and Ace would have been working as much as they did. Where it's like they don't really sleep. They can't, like, have lunch. They're always working. Like, I don't think there's, like, is Monster Lounge that big where they can have 100 employees working at all times? That's just ridiculous. Whatever. So, they're working and they're tired. And we start feeling bad because they're our friends. So then we go to Azul and we're like, hey, bestie, is there any way you could, like, just forget their contracts? Because even though I just broke up with Deuce for Jack, I do kind of feel bad for him, and I don't like my baby girl working this hard. Ace can suck it, but, like, Deuce, come on. So Azul is like, oh, we can definitely make an arrangement for you to release them. In fact, you can release all of these students if you make a contract with me. And we're like, that is so slay. What are the conditions? And Azul is like, I am so glad you asked. I want you to get me a particular photo from a museum in the whatever the ocean is called, because I don't remember what it's called because I'm silly. And in return, if you can't get it to me in the next 3 days, I want your dorm. And we're like, what? And he's like, I want this photo, and if you can't get it in 3 days, I want your dorm. And Jack is like, bestie, don't do it. These men ain't worth it. You got me, boo-boo. And we're like, I'm sorry, but I'm in love with a himbo. So we sign the contract, and then we, like, go back to our house. And then the Tweels break in, and they're like, actually, we're kind of taking this as collateral until you get us the photo. Toodles. So we dip. Also, I forgot to mention, but Grim is being used as a sponge, which personally I think is unsanitary. But pop off. So we get kicked out, and we have to go look for somewhere to live. And Ace is like, I mean, you could live in a Heartslabyul, but then you'd have to share a bed with me, and that would be too tight. And you know, because Ace is like madly in love with us, he's actually really sad when we turn him down. And then Deuce is like, oh man, where are you gonna live? Like, all the rooms in Heartslabyul are filled. And Jack is like, well, you could stay in Savanaclaw. So Jack takes us to Savanaclaw while holding our hand still. And we go, and then Reggie informs us that all the rooms are filled because Savanaclaw doesn't have many rooms for some reason. Anyways, so then Jack is like, oh, well, don't worry. I'm sure Leona will figure something out as payback for all the trouble he caused you last chapter. So we go to Leona, and Leona's like, I literally could not care less, get lost. And we're like, come on, Leona, you owe us. Nyar, nyar, nyar. And Leona's like, literally, go away. So then Ruggy is like, oh no, I hurt from where you hurted me last book. Oh no. And then Leona's like, fine, I'll do it for Ruggy, but you guys have to work for me. And we're like, bet. So we go with him, and then we, like, start planning with Jack how we're gonna get the photo from the underwater museum. And Azul also gave us a potion so we could breathe underwater, because he's like, obviously whatever the deal is, it has to be within your power, duh. So he gives us a potion so we can breathe underwater, and we just try going. We go to the magical portal and we use it without permission, I'm pretty sure. And we go to the water and we're there, and we try to get to the museum. But then guys, these very long mer people appear, and their names are Jade and Floyd, and they beat the crap out of us. And they're like, yeah, go home, scram, share. So we go back home and we're like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do? We don't know what we're gonna do. So we're really sad, and we go back, and Leona's like, well, yeah, no, duh, you failed. You just literally walked in and thought everything would work out for you. Are you dumb? And the answer is yes. So then we're like, okay, Mr. Big Shot, you help us then. And he's like, no, thank you. And then we convinced him to help us by being really loud all night long. And so he's like, fine. Because if the dorm leaves, you guys are gonna have to live with me forever. And that's not very slay. Even though that's literally not how it would have worked. Like, Leona was like, we could only stay for a couple of days. He could have kicked us out at any time. So I don't know. It really just goes to show that Leona's actually just a big softie, and he's madly in love with us. He's so in love with us, guys. It's crazy. So he agrees to help us, and Leona and Ruggy go to talk to Azul while we go back to the aquarium, the underwater museum, and we deal with Jade and Floyd, and everything's really slay. So we knew that the Octavinelle trio, they are an absolute unit together, and separate they're still pretty solid, but there are openings and weaknesses. So some of us go into the museum to get the photo, while the rest go, no, wrong. We fight Jade and Jade and Floyd again. I'm really good at this, guys, I promise. We fight Jade and Floyd again, and then all of a sudden, our little head antennas, they disappear. So Jade and Floyd are like, uh-oh, something's wrong. So they leave because Azul's more important than a second restaurant location, and they dip. So then we break into the museum, we steal the photo, and we're very confused as to why in the world Azul would want a photo of a bunch of random elementary schoolers. And we go, and we go back to school. There we go. We go back to school, and then we go back to school, and you find out that while we were underwater fighting eels, Azul was having a conversation with Leona, and Leona used his unique magic, which is turning stuff to sand, and he destroyed all of Azul's contracts. And Azul is like, oh my gosh, you just destroyed my life's work. That's crazy. And also, to add fuel to the fire, like, if you're new here, I did not like Leona at the beginning of the story. Book 2 was bad, and what he does in book 3 is even worse. When he manages to steal Azul's contracts, oh my gosh, there's a lot of tiny details that I left out. It's important, but, like, it's not enough for me to do it. This is already almost an hour long. But Leona steals the contracts, and he steals the contracts, and he threatens to break them. But then Azul tries bartering with him, being like, hey, Leona, if you give me back my contracts, I'll destroy yours that you made with me last book, and we can just move on like nothing ever happened. You'll have no animosity towards me. Everything will be great. And then Leona's like, oh, really? That actually sounds really cool. And then Azul's like, yeah. So, like, how about you just give them back to me? And Leona's like, but if I let you win, I'm going to have some really annoying housemates. So, and then he destroys them. And what makes me mad about that is because he gave Azul hope that Leona wouldn't destroy his life's work, which, mind you, Azul didn't trick people. They all knew what was at stake with these contracts. They agreed to it. And if they didn't read it, that's on them. Don't sign a piece of paper if you don't know what you're agreeing to, you dummy. Azul did nothing wrong. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not. I'm so serious. Anyways, Leona destroys all of Azul's contracts, which weren't just from the most recent batch of like new hires. It was literally his life's work. So, understandably, he loses his mind and starts crying and screaming and freaking out. And he's like, no, I'm not going to go back to being a loser. And then he starts stealing powers from people, revealing that his unique magic isn't, oh, I can like steal powers from people if they make a contract with me and the contract stores it. That was a self-nerf. His real power is he can take anything from anyone at will. And all you people who are like, his power actually isn't that scary because he can't use it that much or it accumulates too much blot. The fact that he could do that, period, is horrifying. Stop trying to kneecap it and try to make me feel stupid so you can feel better about yourself. That power is terrifying. So he goes around just stealing random stuff from people. And Jade and Floyd are like, oh my gosh, not again. Azul, stop. Not enough people acknowledge the fact that Jade implies that this has happened before. Anyways, so then we have to stop Azul, and he goes a little silly crazy. And then we fight him, and Jade and Floyd try to calm him down because they're besties. I love me some good platonic love, and that doesn't happen. Then some killer boss music plays. I forgot to mention Leona's boss music is killer too. I think it honestly is like my favorite out of all the Overblot themes so far. Octavinelle I think is a very close second. Anyways, we fight Azul, we win, and then everything goes black and white, and then you find out that actually when he was younger, he got bullied because he was fat and an octopus, and octopi merb people are rare. So people were like straight up racist to him. So cool. And life was not that jobu for him. And because he had such horrible self-esteem issues despite like his really loving family that actually spoiled him. I don't say that in a bad way. Like his family like is legit lit. He had really bad self-worth issues and he decided to make himself someone that people needed to prove that he wasn't a waste of space and that people actually needed him. So he became really good at spells and fulfilling wishes so that people who literally bullied him and would say horrible things to him now would seek him out for favors. And he relished in like taking what was most important to them so that they could get something else in return. He loved that. And then one day, a pair of little eel mer people found him in a cave. And they're like, oh my gosh, are you doing magic? That's so cool! And then Azul is like, yeah, I am. Go away. No one likes me. And then Jade is like, bet. And then first the Tweels just kind of followed him around and stalked him because his work ethic is really cool. And then at some point they became friends and started a band. You guys don't talk about their band enough. And then he at some point like loses weight and stuff. And bullying obviously scarred him, and now he like has a little fake persona and pee pee poo poo. He wakes up and Jada's like, hey Azul, how many fingers am I holding up? And Azul's like, 7. And Jade's like, okay, you're not okay. And then we're like, hey Leona, don't you think you went a bit far? And Leona's like, yeah, maybe. And then we talked to Azul, and then we were like, well, even though you kind of cheated, we still have the photo, so we win. Not that it really matters anymore because all the contracts are gone, but we still kept our end of the deal. So the dorm is ours. Our friends are free now. Why did you want this photo? And then Floyd, not being able to read anything, he's like, oh my gosh, that's us when we were kiddos. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then Floyd's like, look it's me, Jade, and over there, it's Azul. And then some very casual fat shaming happens. Yeehaw. And then they're like, Azul, the frick did you want with this? And Azul's like, I wanted to edit myself out because I hate my past. I've been able to like fix all my other past photos, except for this one, because it's in a museum, because it just had to be classmates with the stupid prince of our underwater country, and I hate it here. And then Floyd is like, but Azul, we love you the way you are, whether it's the past you or the current you. You shouldn't just erase the past. And then everyone's like, yeah, Azul, you should embrace your past and your present. And Azul's like, okay, but can I Photoshop the photo a little? And they're all like, no, put it back. So then we all go on a field trip back to the museum when it's actually open, because the reason we broke in was because it was closed for a holiday or something. So we go back, and then Azul gives us a tour of the place. And then we get to have one of my favorite heartwarming moments in the entire game, where you get to have a one-to-one heart-to-heart with Azul while everyone else is looking at all the cool little artifacts and stuff from underwater culture. And basically we get to tell Azul that even though you're kind of silly stinky, we think you're a really cool guy, and like the effort he put into those study guides, because he didn't use magic to do them. He went through years and years and years of past exams to just guess what would be on the test, and he turned out to be right. And that was a lot of like hard work and effort that went into it. So we basically just acknowledged he's a hard worker, and that's cool. And then Azul gets all embarrassed, like, oh no, stop it, girl, boo hiss, go away. No, thank you though, but no. See, Azul's a baby. And then also as punishment, Crowley continues the tradition of stupid, unequivocal punishments that make absolutely no sense. Azul's punishment is he's not allowed to make contracts with people anymore because other people decide to not read the fine print. That's somehow Azul's fault. Make that make sense. So that was silly. Very silly. Azul did nothing wrong. That punishment is stupid. I didn't mention it earlier, but like Crowley at one point says that he hasn't been able to stop Azul and his like study guide thing, because that's the equivalent of telling students not to help each other out studying wise. And it's like, that's not what that means at all. You're literally the headmaster. Get your act together. So then yeah, that was book 3, and everyone clapped, and it was very fun and silly. Now, book 4, Scarabia chapter. Oh, goodness gracious. So, it is now winter break. Midterms are over. All of our friends go home. Except for us, because we have no home. So, Crowley, like, gives us a job to, like, make sure the fairies don't kill each other or something. And that if we do that, he'll buy us, like, a really nice Christmas dinner. How nice of him, am I right? Sorry, water. So we stay home, and it's whatever. And then at some point we come across the Octavinelle trio, and we're like, oh, what are you guys doing here? And then Azul, Floyd, and Jay, they're like, oh, there's like ice floes and icebergs over where we live, and it's a real hassle to like try to navigate through them to get home. So we just stay here for the holidays. As if we didn't use the magic mirror in the previous chapter to just teleport to the ocean. Anyways, plot holes aside, they're home. They're not going home for the holidays. It's whatever. They're having fun together. We also find out that, well, we smell something really good, right? We smell something really good, and it leads us to the Scarabia dorms. So we go in, and we see that the entire dorm is still home. And we're like, ayo, what's going on here? And they're like, hi, we are here studying because we did really bad on our midterms, and we need to fix that because we are a dorm that's known for being really smart, just like Heartslabyul and Ignahide. And Octavinelle. There you go. Don't know why that took me so long. Not every dorm can be known for being smart. Anyways, so we did so bad. We're staying for the holidays for a training camp. Oh boy. So then we get to meet Callum, and it's like, oh, we're going on a silly walk through the desert. So we go on a walk through the desert, and Callum is being uncharacteristically mean and demanding, and his eyebrows are going all grr, and we're like, where did our sweet, sweet boy go? This isn't you, babe. We go and we get really tired. And then we walk back home, and everyone's really sad because no one wants to like do the work, and it's not very slay, but it's something. So then we go back home, and then we like eat food and stuff, and we eat food, and Colin's back to his really nice fluffy self, and we're like, whoa, what the heck? Like, you were really angry and mean a little bit ago. Why are you nice all of a sudden? And then Colin's like, I don't know. I don't really have good memory right now. And then like we're like, what do you mean you don't remember? Like, you just did it. And he's like, I don't know, guys. I just live here. So then we sleep, and then another day happens, and we go on another walk, and then we like go farther, and then we get to like an oasis, but it's empty, and everyone's really sad, and then everyone's like just crying and begging for water, and then Colin's like, water? Did someone say water? Oasis maker! And then you get to learn his unique magic is he can make a lot of water, and it takes very little magic, and it's very slay. So he can just make it rain. It rains, we all get water, we're all nice and drenched. We walk back home, and we're like, no, like, what the heck just happened? Like, Colin was really mean, and then all of a sudden he cared about us. This is getting weird. It's getting weird, guys. So then we like try to leave at night, and then the Scarabia students are like, no one can leave. And then they force us back in our room. But then we break out on a magic carpet, and then we end up at Octavinelle, and then I did that out of order. We did not meet Octavinelle until now. When I mentioned them earlier, pretend I didn't. That was wrong. We go to Octavinelle, and we crash in there, and then we see Azul and Floyd and Jade, and they're like, hi, and we're like, hey, what are you doing here? They're like, oh, home, boo hiss, not going. And we're like, okay. And then we tell them about how Colin's being weird, and the Scarabia students won't let them leave, so they had to escape. And then Azul's like, that is so silly. I'm returning you. So they go, and Azul offers us as a peace offering to his crush, Jamil Viper. And he's like, hey, these two ran away. We're here to return them. Also, can we join your training camp? And then Jamil's like, no, go away. And Azul's like, but we brought pizza. And the students are like, we don't know, Jamil. Pizza is very enticing. So they go, and they take the pizza, and they have a big feast, and everyone eats food. And at some point, Colin's like, Jamil, you've been working too hard. We're gonna help you not work as much. And Azul's like, I agree. My future husband shouldn't have to work this hard. So they do that, and everything's great and silly and goofy. And then there's a little like rhythm thing about cooking, and it's really fun. And then we eat food, and then we go on our walk, and we go on a walk, and we go back home, and then we play games. We play some games. It's really silly. We play games, and it's really nice. And then Azul flirts with Jamil for a really long time, and they flirt a lot. And then like Jade kidnaps Colin, and this is the beginnings of a blooming romance. And he takes them to a little room, and he's like, hey, why are you being mean? And you find out Jade's power, which is you can look into his eye and he can make you tell the truth for once. Just one. Just once. And then Column's like, I don't know, man. I promise not to tell anyone. I can't. And Jade's like, what the nuts? And Colum's like, I can't tell you. Ah. And then Jade is like, okay, anyways, let's go play some more games. So they go back to playing games. And then Jamil's like, oh my gosh, where did you take Colum? Where is he? And Azul's like, shh, don't worry about that. Let's play with these marbles, and everything's great. And then Jamil, when Colum appears again, he's like, what did you do to him, you monster, to Jade? He's like, Colum, it's time for you to go to bed. So everyone goes to bed, and it's really silly. And I'm sure Azul cried himself to sleep over the fact that he couldn't sleep in the same bed as Jamil. Very, very sad boy hours. Very hard. He'll get through it. So then the next day or something, and then Azul and the people, they help some more. They're like, Jamil, you're still working too hard. Haha. Stop doing that. And then stuff happens, and then Jamil reaches his last straw, and he pulls Colum aside, and he's like, I'm looking in my eyes, my silly. Kick them out, make them go away, and be a bully. But then, ruh-roh, it turns out that Jade, no, nuts, okay, wait, no, frick, Jamil, and, no, Azul goes to Jamil, and he's flirting, right? They're flirting horribly. Guys, why am I, the order of book 4, like, literally is just a giant scrambled puzzle in my brain. Azul's like, hey Jamil, I can be useful to you because I'm madly in love with you. Please use me. And Jamil is like, oh, I will use you. I will. Oh, he tells me how wrong I am. Don't worry about it. Everything is so fine. He's like, oh, I'll use you, all right, under my control. So he hypnotizes Azul, and he's like, Azul, you will become my genie. And he's like, tell me the secrets of something. And Azul is like, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Just kidding. This is a live stream on my Instagram, fool. And Jamil was like, wah. And it's like, haha, you just exposed yourself. And then Jamil's epic plan of using his powers to hypnotize Colum, to make him, make everyone hate him so that he'd be kicked out of the dorm, and then Jamil could be the new dorm leader, was exposed. And Jamil was like, diddly darn it, I was betting everything on this plan. Now that I've been found out, there's no hope for me. I give up. And then he overblocks, and then he yeets everyone away on a rocket, and then we're all really sad. We're really sad, and we're like out in the desert, and oh yeah, at some point Jamil screamed about how much he hated Colum, and then Colum's all sad, like, no, he can't hate me, we're best friends, we've been best friends since we were kids. And then Jade is like, wow, that really sucks. Well, it doesn't really matter because he betrayed you, and that's like not how your partner should work. Like, if Azul ever betrayed me, I'd kill him. And Azul's like, yeah, he'd kill me. So then Jade advises that Colum, when he meets up with Jamil again, that he should give him a tongue lashing and show him his place. And Colum's like, yeah, even if he doesn't like me, and he hasn't liked me for the entirety of our careers, he never told me. This isn't Slay. So then, plot happens, and then Azul makes a contract with Floyd for something, but it gave Floyd a deep voice for whatever reason. Very silly. So then they start swimming really fast. And then they go back to Scarabia, where Jamil is being treated as a god, because in Overblock, he can make everyone do what he says and control all of them at once. and it's very silly. And then we fight him. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. You actually fight Jamil first when he first overblocks. Then he throws us away. Then we go back and then we have to fight him again because the game is silly. And it's like, yeah, actually, you're going to fight him twice because we're just built different now. So we fight him again. This time we win. And then everything goes black and white. And then Jamil is like, I've been forced to be this idiot's servant since I was a child. I can't enjoy anything. I'm not allowed to be number one because if I outperform him, it looks bad on his family. So I have to be a loser. But I don't want to be a loser. I want to be cool. I want to be number one sometimes too. So then he wakes up, and instead of giving him a tongue lashing, Colin is crying over his body, and he's like, Jamil, I had no idea I caused you so much pain, no. And then Jade is like, this is literally not what I told you to do at all, but work. So so that happens, and then everyone hates Jamil because, yeah, and everything's bad. So no one actually no. So that I think they know about the overblot. No. Okay, everyone in Scarabia knows about it, and then everyone wants Jamil to get kicked out of school. But then Colum's like, hey, listen, guys, I get that he did a bad thing, but he's mentally ill. And at the end of the day, he didn't actually hurt me. And even though he did kind of hurt you guys, like, think about all the times he actually helped you out and was really beneficial for you. And they're like, yeah, he did teach me how to beatbox that one time. And yeah, he did help me with all my homework for the past 5 million years. And yeah, Jamil's a pretty cool guy. He just had a little hiccup because he is extremely emotionally and mentally repressed. So they don't forgive him, but they're working towards forgiving him. And Crowley, I don't think actually like what's that word? Formally gives Jamil a punishment, but we get into that next book. So then we all go on one more walk, and we're all singing and dancing and having a lot of fun. And the whole time, Azul's like, hey, baby girl, if you need any help, let me know. And Jamil's like, die. And then also, I forgot. At some point, Colum's like, Jamil, I don't want you to, be my servant. I actually value you as a friend. I want us to get along together as equals. And Jamil is like, I will literally never be your friend. I hate your guts. Get away from me. You're stupid, you're lazy, you're sloppy, and you're a spoiled brat, and no one should like you. And Colum's like, wow. Anyways, you're my best friend. So they're really silly. Jamil wants none of it. And Azul is like, I love an honest Jamil more. And Jamil's like, I don't care what you think. And then they make out. So yeah, they go on a walk, and they do a little silly dance. And then book 4 is over. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Now, on to the last one I'm going to be discussing. Book 5. Pomefiore chapter. Heapers Jeepers. So, book 5. We're hanging out with the oh my gosh, I know some of y'all are going to kill me if I don't bring this up. At the end of book 4, Ace and Deuce come back to campus. They went on this giant trip because getting to Sage Island is an absolute nightmare. Sage Island is where their school is located. Because we tried calling them, but then our Wi-Fi stopped working in Scarabia because Jamil controls internet connections or something. I don't know. So they were like, oh, you called us. You said you were in danger. We came to save you. Yada, yada, yada. But it looks like you're fine. So then we and Deuce kiss again because I guess we broke up with Jack at some point, and now we're back together. Maybe we're two-timing him. I don't know. So yeah, Deuce and Ace, they love us very much. Silly. Okay, now to actually the chapter 5. Pomefiore chapter, woohoo! So it opens up, school is starting again, and there's going to be some sort of festival at their school, and one of the entertainment things there is VDC, the vocal dance. Championship? What? I don't know, dog. Something. Vocal dance championship. Yep, that's totally what it's called. Competition? Yeah, sure. I'm going with that. Thank you. It's a thing. We see it in the cafeteria. We see a sign for it in the cafeteria. And we can win money. Capitalism. Let's go. So we decide to just audition for it. So we go to the school gym to go practice. And we start do dancing, and it's really cool and fun. And then Ace is a jerkwad, and he starts insulting Deuce being stiff. And Grim is just a silly little guy. So as we're dancing, at some point, Jamil and Colin, they're there too, because they're also practicing, because they're gonna audition because they slay. So then, we were like, oh, hey, Jamil, we haven't seen you since your mental breakdown. How's it going? And Jamil's like, terrible. Everyone hates me, so I have to go out of my way to do community service like I'm a member of Knights from Ensemble Stars after we kidnapped Makoto. And it's like, wow, that really sucks. And he's like, yeah, I also had to lie to my parents about why I overblotted, because if they found out that I overblotted because I hate this dude so much, they'd probably lose their jobs. And it's like, wow, you're like really sucks. And he's like, thanks for noticing. And then Azul comes out of nowhere and he's like, hello, love of my life. Our teacher wants us to paper. And we're like, oh, hey, Azul. Didn't you like live stream his little psychotic break? That is so silly of you. And then Azul's like, actually, no, I didn't live stream it. I was on a FaceTime call with Jade. And then Jamil's like, yeah, well, you still like scared me. That was kind of a really mean prank. And Azul's like, tee, I love you. Let's get married. So we all do the dancey dance, and then Jamil leaves, and everything's really silly. And then other plot stuff happens, and then it's the day of the audition, and we go to the audition, and everything's great, and we get to see some of our silly friends, like Cater, and Lilia, and Ortho, who, did we actually get to meet Ortho at this point? Maybe he's just there, and like, we just know of him. Very silly. Very great. Doesn't matter, but we see our friends. We go in for auditions. You get to hear a lot of the people sing. It's very great. Then it's our turn. And we go, and Villa's like, wow, you three suck. And it's like, wow, thank you so much. We nailed it. Woohoo. And then we leave. And then Vil and Rook go over all the different auditions. And it's very slay. And Villa's like, are you even taking this seriously? You like gave everyone a 100. And Rook is like, that's because I see beauty in everyone, Vil. And Vil's like, if you say so. And Rook is like, tee hee 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 hee. And then they probably made out. And then Vil's like, well, we're definitely not letting those three in because they're a hot mess. And Rook's like, but Vil, don't you just feel so much better having nurtured a recently hatched bird into a fully grown bird? I forgot his little metaphor. Who cares? And Vil's like, I mean, not really. I just want to win. And Rook's like, listen, Vil, it's not just about winning. It's about how you feel. It's not about the destination, but the journey there. And helping a diamond out of the rough is much more fulfilling than just having a squad of already perfect people. And Vil's like, wow, that still does not appeal to me in any way, shape, or form, but I value your opinion for some reason, so I'm going to listen to you. So, Rook almost kills Deuce and Ace by shooting an arrow that says, you passed, tee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee. And then it says, go to Pomefiore for your first day of rehearsal. So they go to Pomefiore, and they go to the gates, and there are these guys at the gate, and they're like, what are you doing here? And we're like, we're here for VDC practice. And they're like, you silly fool, you are not worthy of being here. So they fight, and then we beat them up, and then we move on. And then some other guys are like, how did you get into our dorm? And he throws his glove on the floor, and he says, pick up my glove. And we're like, why did you put your glove on the floor? You pick it up. And he's like, are you dumb? I'm challenging you to a duel. And we're like, oh, no thank you. And he goes, I don't think so. And then we fight, and then we beat them up. And then they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. And then we make fun of them for being dramatic and losers. And then we like have a couple more unnecessary fights. And then we finally get to the ballroom. And Villa's like, oh my gosh, why are you people late? And we're like, because your stupid students were fighting us. And Villa's like, oh, they're just overprotective. Anyways, it's time to dance. And then we play Dance Dance Revolution. And we like sing a song for like practice. We sing Piece of My World. And it's very slay. Every time I hear it now, all I hear is Jamel. Like, the way he sings is so good, y'all. I'm gonna cry. It's so good. I'm sorry, I just had to take a moment to just relive it in my brain, you know? So then we do the dance, and then we like start dancing and stuff. And Appel is not having it. Oh my gosh, how did I forget that? Okay, earlier in the chapter, we actually like hear Appel singing by a well. And we're like, yo, what the heck is that? And then we go, and then Deuce starts talking to him. And then Appel is like, I have to practice singing or I'm gonna get murdered. And then Deuce is like, why would that happen? And then Vil appears and he's like, hey, why aren't you singing? You're supposed to be practicing, my little apple. And then Appel is like, I'm sorry, I was just talking to him for a little bit. And then Vil is like, but nothing. And then Deuce is like, hey, how dare you talk to him like that? And then Vil's like, who are you? And then he beats him up because that's what Vil does. I love him, y'all. And that is how we get introduced to Vil. He beats us up. So that's silly. Anyways, back to now. We recognize Appel as the guy we saw crying by the well. So that's nice. And then Deuce immediately tries to be friends with him. And Appel is kind of like, so then we do the dance, and then Appel's like, I don't want to dance. Dancing's for girls. And then Villa's like, you did not just gender movements. And then Appel's like, I'm going to beat you. Today is going to be the day I win. And Villa's like, oh my gosh. And then Colum's like, come on, guys, let's not fight. And Rook's like, don't worry, they're not fighting. And then Villa's like, take out your magic pen, Appel. And then they start literally fighting. So they fight, Appel loses, he cries and runs away. And then Deuce is like, no, you can't run away. So he runs after him. And it's not Slay. And then then Rook's like, hey, how about we all take a break because everything's falling apart. And that is like not good. So Villa's like, fine, we can have a break. And it's silly. And then we go. And then he makes us clean the entire room. Once again, I'm like saying, I know things are so out of order. Because a lot of stuff was like repetition. So many days happen. I promise I know a little bit. But then at some point, jeez, wait, what did that, okay, wait. Oh wait, I think at this point, Villa's like, hey, can we like live in Ramshackle Dorm and make it like a training camp? So then we train camp at Ramshackle and we all live together. And Trey packed them snacks and cake as like a gift. Like, hey guys, be safe. I'm your dad. Brush your teeth. And Villa's like, oh my gosh, Trey and his desserts. He's trying to kill us all. And then Vil takes away all of the snacks and all the candy. And then Ace is like, no, I want my snacks. Give me my snacks. And then Vil's like, no, you won't have it. So then we go to our rooms and then we like sleep. But then in the middle of the night, Ace breaks into our room and he's like, hey, MC, come with us. We're gonna like go eat food and stuff. So they go downstairs and Deuce is there, but he's like, I just wanted water because I'm thirsty. I'm a good little boy. And then Ace is like, hey Deuce, look at me for a second. And Deuce is like, what? And then Ace shoves a slice of pie down his throat. And then they eat it. But then something's wrong with the food. And then what do? They fall to the floor, frozen. And then Villa's like, haha, I knew you would try to eat the food. I cursed it. And they're like, no. Ah! So then we also fight him for a bit. And then Villa's like, yep, I cursed it because you ate the pie. And now you're not going to be able to move until the sun rises. And we're like, no, Vil, that's too mean. And Vil's like, well, too bad. My power is so magical, I can't undo it once I curse something. So then he what does he do? Oh yeah, he leaves us on the floor because he's really silly. And that's nice. And then morning comes, and then their backs hurt because they were lying on the floor like losers. And they're like, wow, Vil actually just left us here. And he's like, yeah, I said I would. So then Vil and Rook have their morning makeout session, and then they come downstairs. They're like, okay, breakfast time. And then we like eat breakfast or something. And then we go to class. And then after class, we go back to work. And then Appel hates everything. And then Vil is like, you guys suck at dancing. It's time for you to become Angelina Ballerina. And then Deuce is like, hey, I suck at dancing too. Can I do ballet? And Vil is like, what's with you being so eager to do things? Yes, you may do ballet. And then he does the ballet. And it's very silly. We have another little like dance thingy. And then we all go and like clean the place. I think I forgot to mention, but like Jamil and Colum are there too. They also passed the audition. I don't think I mentioned that literally once. Anyways, but they're there and they do stuff and it's really silly. Also, I totally forgot, man. During the first night, we actually like hear singing in the middle of the night, and then we go outside and we find Colin and he's like singing, and we're like, hey babe, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm practicing because this is the first time I haven't been number one at something, and I'm actually really frustrated. And after what happened last chapter, I'm realizing that I'm not as good at things as I thought, and Jamil literally just let me win because of our parents, and that's not fair. And I want to be more capable and prove myself, so I'm going to work hard so I can become a main vocalist. Spoilers, Colin never becomes a main vocalist. Anyways, so that happened. That was just a really sweet moment that I feel like needed to be acknowledged because he's a silly boy. Like, there's a lot of people who like will like Jamil and hate Colin. Be like, yeah, Colin's like just a spoiled brat, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they act like he had no character growth after he found out the negative impact he had on Jamil's life. Unintentionally, so many people act like Colin went out of his way to torture Jamil, and that's not the case. Like, it's not his fault he was sheltered and spoiled. Not how that works, babes. Not how that works. Anyways, ballet stuff happens. Also, like, sprinkled throughout, like, Vil will have, like, a mirror scene, but instead of a mirror, it's his phone because Gen Z, I don't know. And he's like, Siri, who's the most famous person? And they're like, not you, cry about it. And then Vil just loses his marbles, understandably. And, yeah. So, like, they're doing the practice, and then they're doing stuff, and then Vil steps out for a bit. Actually, this might have happened when him and Appel fought. I forgot. It happened, I'm pretty sure it's when he and Appel fought, because like everyone left and they took a break, and that's why he went outside. Whatever. The order isn't, okay, the order is important, but like it's also like not that important, because this is for my brain, and my brain is a maze, and everything is terrible. Anyways, so like, what was I doing? What was I saying? Oh yeah, he like asks his phone, and then his phone is like, not you, you're ugly and no one likes you and you're irrelevant and you fell off. And then Bill just like glares into nothingness, and Rook is like, hey babe, what is wrong? And Bill is like, nothing, I am peachy, perfectly fine. I have never been so mentally stable in my life. So then, um, so then, so then, Appel like runs away to a beach, and then there's some guys who are there, and they're like, oh, you're really cute. And Appel is also, oh yeah, like Bill and Appel also got no fight because Appel's like, being cute isn't strong, being muscly and hot like Leona is strong. And Bill is like, shut up. So they fought it, and then they're like, oh my gosh, a little girl, but you're wearing the NRC uniform. Since when did they let girls into Night Raven College? And then Appel is like, oh my gosh, please don't hurt me, I'm just a dainty little fellow. And they're like, oh yeah, we'd never want to hurt a lady. And then Appel's like, just kidding, I'm a man, I'm a male, I'm a he, I'm a him, haha. And then he kicks them in the nuts. And then like Deuce hits them, and he finds out it's his unique magic. Haha, he's a living Uno reverse card. And then Appel punched them. So frick, Uno reverse card, and then they run away together, and then they probably hold hands and kiss because it's Deuce's turn to cheat on us. Rightfully so, we did cheat on him with Jack. It's understandable. I have no hard feelings towards him. So they hold hands back to campus, and they're like, sorry for leaving. Poopy buttholes. We don't know what's going on. And then Appel is like, Bill, I finally understand the power of cuteness. It's the good old bait and switch. And Bill is like, I'm so glad you understand my little poison apple. Now stop being a menace to society. And Appel goes, never, and Gremlin crawls into the walls. Then we go back home, and everything's great. And then we practice some more. And then it's VDC. Woohoo. I'm just skipping over the other part. It's important, but not for right now. And then it's VDC, and then they practice their silly song. And they practice their silly song, and like the whole crowd goes wild. Woohoo. But then it's Bill's arch nemesis' turn. Niche Le Blanchet. It's Niche Le Blanchet. Niche LeBlanc, whatever you want to call him, right? He has his little 7 friends, and they sing a little song that goes a little something like, Yah-ho, 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 Yah-ho. So then like Vil is really mad because even though they had no skill whatsoever in their performance, the reporter people like Nisha's performance better than the NRC one because they're stupid and have no respect for anyone. So then they die or something, and then they go to their green room, and then Vil goes and pays Nish a visit, and he's like, hey Nish, what's hip hop happening? Do you want to possibly partake in some apple juice? And then Nish is like, yeah, I am kind of thirsty. And then Rook is like, Nish, actually, you're needed in the Coliseum. Yep, yeah, they really need you to do stuff. And Nish is like, oh, okay. And Rook is like, yeah, run. And Nish is like, huh? And he said, run, dude, run. So Nish leaves, and Rook is like, anyways, this apple juice does look pretty yummy. I'm gonna drink it. And then Villa's like, "What's wrong with you?" "No," and he slaps it out of Rook's hand, and then it falls on the floor, and it's acid. Ah, ah, it's acid. He was gonna kill Niche. Oh no. So then, Rook is like, "Oh no, I never thought you would do that, Vil. That's not beautiful." And Vil's like, "I know it's not beautiful, but how else was I supposed to win? How else was I supposed to win?" So, Vil goes on a rampage and is like, "I'm not beautiful. I'm so ugly. And even if the world can forgive me because on the outside I'm beautiful, I'll never be able to forgive myself for even attempting this." So then Vil goes crazy, goes stupid. And it turns out the poison that he had in the apple juice has started to evaporate into poison gas. And that's not cool. So then Jamil preemptively evacuates the Colosseum because he could just use his Jamil sense to know that Vil was about to do something very illegal, and made everyone leave. Very silly. He like put up a magic barrier or something. It's very cool. Or maybe Vil did that. Someone put up a magic barrier, and they go back and they're like, "Vil, this isn't you, haha, stop." And then Vil is like, "No, I'm gonna kill all of you, and then I'm gonna murder myself because overblock time, teehee." And then some really cool boss music happens, and then the fight ends with all of us getting pulverized, but then like Deuce purposely was taking hits from Vil so he could absorb his magic, and then he used his unique magic and threw it back at Vil, and it hit Vil so hard that it knocked him out of his overblot. And they're all like, "Wow, Deuce, we didn't know you could use so much power." And he's like, "It wasn't my power, it was all Vil." So then Vil wakes up and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what year is it?" And then they're all like, "Vil, oh my gosh, that was so crazy, haha." And then Vil is like, "Thank you, Deuce, for punching me." And Deuce is like, "Oh, once again, not me. That was all you. You're kind of crazy strong. If I didn't realize my unique magic like a day ago, this would not have ended well for me." And then Ace is like, "There is no way that Deuce got his unique magic before me." And Deuce is like, "Well, look at me and weep, baby. You're a loser, haha." And then Appel is like, "Yeah, Ace, you're a loser." And then Deuce and Appel hold hands and kick their feet because they're madly in love. And then Vil is injured because he's injured, and the hit was like really bad. And the Colosseum's destroyed because Vil kind of destroyed it. And then like Malleus is like, "Oh hey guys, what's going on?" And they're like, "Malleus, what the heck are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I just like walked through." And they're like, but there was a magical barrier." And he's like, "There was? That's news to me." So Malleus is like, "Well, you know what? MC did work really hard on this, and we're like madly in love. So I'll fix it. But Vil, haha, you owe me one." Hold on, I think there's a bug on my wall. No, go away. Die. Ew. Anyways, so Malleus fixes the Colosseum, what else happens? Yeah, he fixes the Colosseum, and then it's time for the dance party. So then Vil and Co, they go do their dance, and they're all do a bad job because they're hurt. Silly. And then Niche goes, and everyone likes Niches. and then it's time to vote, and then Nish's team wins by 1 vote, and then it's revealed that Rook did the vote because he thought Nish's team did better, and then also because he's a Niche super fan. I'm just kidding, guys. Please, it was a joke. Please don't kill me, Rook lovers, Niche apologists. Please leave me alone. Please, that was a joke. I'm not serious. Please leave me alone. That's not. Please stop. Anyways, so yeah, Rook voted for Niche. Then Royal Sword Academy wins. Rook almost faints. Very not slay. People cried. And then Niche is like, hey, Vil, it was so nice seeing you sing again. Can we, like, dance? And Vil is like, I would rather die. And then Niche is like, great. And then they all sing and dance together. And no one's having fun. And it's very silly. And then Vil begs someone to kill him because he wants to die. And then the festivities are over. And then we go home, and then we wake up, and Grimm is gone, and we go look for Grimm, and then we find Grimm, and Grimm is, like, dead or something. And then, we find Grimm, and then he scratches our face, and he runs away, and that is how book 5 ends. And that is the entire plot, the entire main plot of Twisted Wonderland. Prologue to book 5 from memory. Many minor details just completely ignored here and there. But yep, that was the entire story. Yep, so great. I really just did that, and it only took me 111 minutes. Well, I hope you all were thoroughly entertained. Yeah. Anyways, I draw sometimes. There's a community post about my commissions if that's a thing you're into. Super chats also exist. And I have a Ko-fi or Ko-fi. I think Ko-fi sounds cooler, but it's supposed to be buy me a coffee. But when you say Ko-fi with a little hyphen between, I'm thinking Wi-Fi. But yeah, the plan is to leave this up for people to listen to it because it's very silly. Also, I totally forgot to mention that after the voting situation, Vil breaks up with Rook, and Leona comes in and he can smell the afterness of Vil's magical powers. And he's like, I sense a strong power was here. And then they fall in love and they start kissing instead. You're welcome. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. If you've been here the entire time, I'm concerned for you. I'm mostly concerned for me because why did I do this? But yeah, it's been on the mind. Finally did it. I hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on your time zone. And I am going to have a deep session of self-reflection. Goodbye.